All right, come on, get your document open. You should be working on that right when you come into class. We shouldn't be sitting here wasting time. Anybody have a syllabus while we're waiting? Those are due tomorrow. You have not turned it in yet. You want one? Two. What's your problem? Verify it. Oh, there we go. All right, we left off with last Friday. We were starting to look at color a little bit based off of what I see in your screens. So we're going to quick do a recap on color. We'll get into gradients. We'll get into color themes. We'll get into color swatch books. And then we'll move our way over to type after that. So if we are taking a look at this first triangle that we see here, there's a couple different ways that we can tell that the color that it has, obviously by visually looking at it, but it would be hard to tell if it had a fill without actually taking a look at one of the swatch areas. So if I take this and move over to the side, it's much easier to see that it has a black stroke and a white fill. But another way I could have done that is if I go to my toolbar, you can see down here I have a fill swatch and a stroke swatch. Both of them have color in them. The color for the top one just happens to be white. If it's selected and I push the none button, it now has the red slash through it. And that means that there's no fill being applied to that particular box. I could have also looked at the control bar running across the top of the screen. That's one way I can figure out color. And then over on the right-hand side in your appearance panel, you also can see you've got fill and stroke. So there's multiple different ways to determine the color and change your color. Every one of those different places, I could have gone ahead and put a new color in. We all can figure out by double-clicking on a swatch that we can come in here, we can change the hue slider, and then pick our actual color from there. And we'll click OK, and it will apply to there. What if I wanted to get a pre-made color? I can go to my swatches panel, take a look at my swatches. So the swatches are these little dots here. The only way that that panel will show up is if we are working in the Essentials Classic mode. So we want to make sure that that portion has been activated. If I click on the word swatch and I drag on it and pull over, we now have a floating independent panel that will not disappear when we click on different things. That's good because we want to go find some swatch books. You can see most of my colors have are deleted, so I'm going to select all unused and push delete, and I'll go back to just kind of like this blank canvas of color. So if this happens to you at all at one point when you create a document, we need to know where to load these from. And this is what we're going to do in just a second here. You're going to click on Swatches Library. It's a little menu option in the lower left-hand corner. So if you were taking a look at your notes, what I would probably do on that page is just draw an arrow to the library symbol and just note to yourself that this is where color books are going to be located. Color books are going to look like this. There's anything from Celebration to Corporate Defaults, Gradients. And if we click on actual color books, you get into what are called Pantones. That's a whole different lesson, but those are pretty important to us as a printer. So you can choose any one of these besides Gradients. Gradients is going to be a different step today. So I'm going to just click on Celebration, and you can see that it has gone ahead and loaded up a set of pre-made swatches that are supposed to be representative of Celebration. I'm going to take those colors. I'm going to drag them and drop them into the swatches. Nope. Come on. Load. Oh, I lied. We were going to take the bottom one. That was a bad demo. My bad. We're going to take the folder because I want the bottom one. And I'm going to add that to my swatches and then close these. So I'm going to give your computer back to you, open up a library, and then apply one of the colors to a shape that you've created for me. Make sure it's a fill, not a stroke. So you got to get in the right workspace. Once you're in the right workspace, you can open the swatches panel. You're going to go to the lower left. You're going to go to the libraries option and pick one of the books, open it up, and then apply it. All right, I'm going to take over your computer again, and I'll catch people back up if they are feeling lost on the next round here. So we just got done doing swatches. Now we're going to go out and go to Window. So that's one of our menu options that go across the top of the screen. And we're going to click on what's called color themes. So you need to write that sequence down in the lines below the swatches. Menu, Window, and then to color themes. So once you click on color themes, this dialog box will pop up, and it's going to give us the ability to search the internet for different types of colors. If it'll overload. Worked all morning, and now it's not going to work. All right, I'm going to give your computer back to you. You guys see if you can get it to work on your end. Maybe mine's, oh, it's thinking about it. So once you get into color themes, if you type in like fall or spring or chocolate cake or whatever, some sort of descriptor, it'll return a bunch of different swatches for you. It'll come up with 5 because 5 makes the color theme in Adobe. And we can take those and we can add those to our swatches panel and then use them. So I'm going to give your computer back to you. I want you to go to the menu, go to Window, and click on Color Themes and see if we can get it to load on your end. Hopefully mine will start to work here in just a second. So give that a try. Go to Window, Color Themes. and then click on the Explore option. Type in a word that you're looking to search for. Once you find a color set that you like, there's going to be 3 dots in the lower right-hand corner of that particular color set. When you click on those 3 dots, you'll have the option of saying Add to Swatches. You're going to want to add that to Swatches. It'll come in as a folder with those 5 colors, and then we're going to use those 5 colors to create a gradient here in just a second. So it's going to be important that you find some and add them to your swatches panel. Some of us are not experiencing a great connection to Adobe Server right now, but get some colors up, and then we're going to make some gradients here in just a second. All right, 20 seconds. I'm going to take your computer over. All right, so the next piece here is going to be creating a gradient. In order to create a gradient, you may want to take notes. It's up to you on this. If you can kind of remember, it's great. But we need to get 2 panels open. We need to have the swatches panel open, which I've already got out on my screen. And we also need to find the gradient panel. The panel is going to be on the right-hand side of the screen. We're going to take the words gradient. We're going to click on them, and we're going to drag and drop them out here. We need to have both of these panels active so that we can see them. It only works if we drag colors from the swatches panel and drop them into the gradient annotator. So with this top shape selected, I am going to click on the gradient piece there. It says gradient. Click to activate. So I'm going to activate it. The gradient's been applied, but it's been applied as a black and white. What I need to do now is actually get color to it. So I'm going to drag the swatch and drop it onto this bar right here. If you want to get rid of a color, you click on it and pull down. If you don't want to do the drag method, you can just go until you get a plus symbol. You can see my cursor. You get a little plus symbol. If you click on it, there you go. You can double click on that color stop and you can add another one in. If you want to get rid of it, you can drag off like I said, or you can click the delete key, which is right there. So you got to have 2 or more colors to create a gradient. So I'll give your computer back to you. Try applying a gradient fill to one of your shapes. Anybody need help creating a gradient? an advanced like piece. Got a question? Yeah. You want to watch it? I would go to window. Down to the S's. And have a great panel. Do you need the screens off or?
No, it's fine. Get it done.
Thanks.
Definitely needs to.
It doesn't feel the same, right?
It's
Not even close?
definitely.
I didn't know that was an adjustment piece, so now I can look for it. But I didn't realize how much leveling was needed to. That makes me question this whole thing then, because I didn't. We took it off in the truck, and like the guy like does man yeah. I haven't really noticed any issues, and I've had it now for 3 years, so I may start turning on that one more now. Maybe a little tighter registration.
Well, the ones that are working on this, it should be as good.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking time on that.
No worries.
All right. Yes. Okay. So we have a couple questions, and the same questions popped up twice now, so we'll kind of go over it together. I've got my panel up here. Ooh, I hit the wrong button by accident. Gradient's now gone from the side over here. There's a couple or two ways that you could go about getting it back if you lose something, right? I could come up here, and I could go to my workplace switch here, and I could click the Reset Essentials Classic. But the problem with that is if I've got some other custom panels open on my screen, it's going to get rid of those because it's going to go back to the default. If I specifically know that I need just my gradient panel back because that's the one I closed, I could go to Window, and all of my tools that I need are going to be right there. So if I click on it, it'll pop back up that way. Does that help a little bit? Yep, cool. So, and a couple of us did this too. So I've got this shape selected. I need to reset some of my stuff so we can see what's going on. Had it like this. We were making a gradient stroke, which is fine. We can have a gradient stroke, but we didn't know what we were doing. So it's just super important to always be mindful of what our swatches look like. And you can tell that I've got a black fill and a gradient stroke, which brings us to our next piece. If I select this shape, I can increase the weight of that by clicking either up top in the menu or the control options, or I can go to the strokes panel and I can increase the weight of it. And then in the actual gradient panel, I can adjust the way that the gradient is going to be applied based on how I use it there. If I switch this around, some of you guys were playing with the gradient tool, which is in the toolbox. If I drag, I can change the direction of where my gradient is going to be within inside of the box. But there's another one that is new to CC 19, and that is what's called freeform. Freeform gradient will give me dots instead of bars. And I can take these dots, if I double click on them, and I can put them wherever I want, and they can have color in them. So this lets me create a gradient that was once not achievable in Illustrator because you couldn't assign dots or points this way. So I'll give your computer back really quick, play with the freeform option for like a minute or two, and then we have to move on because we're a little behind. There you go. If you need help, you got to get me over there. Don't get too far behind. So the different types of gradients you can have is the linear, the radial, and the freeform. It's those three boxes where it says type, and gradient box. You can kind of adjust your stuff from there.
Sounds better.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it always sounds good a little bit, and that's coming from both bearings right there. So they do wear out.
That doesn't wear out the distance.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, you know, just it doesn't take much. Make sure you not go too crazy.
Yeah, it's that back one back there is not that much. Oh, so those wear out super.
Yeah. So it's just
Yeah.
it's weird. It's like,
I mean, I've seen the 300 in person. That's a little bit better when they came out with it. But that's what Rockford, French Up Rock uses, the one on East State. Yeah, they use the right out.
yeah.
They're part of our advisory board. So they're really nice.
It's a
Jared.
yeah.
Okay. Any questions about color? Because we're going to move on now to type. Let's turn the page. There are two different ways that we can type with inside of Illustrator. There is what's called point type and container type. Point type is going to be used unless I tell you otherwise. It's the best option for us and what we are trying to accomplish in this class. So let's kind of go over it real quick, and then I'll let you guys get at it. Your type tool is located underneath the T. We do have a bunch of different options when it comes to using the type tool, like area type, type on a path, vertical type, and even this tool called touch type, which we'll play in just a second. But we're going to start off with just the regular text tool. The way that point type works is you simply go out to your screen and you click once and don't move the cursor. It's going to automatically create a line of text for you wherever you click. That's going to be its starting point. And it puts in what's called filler text, and then you can go from there and type in whatever word you would like. When you click off of it and select it as an object, you'll see that it immediately has a bounding box that goes around it. That bounding box is a transform box. It's going to allow us to resize it and rotate it. So if I increase it and hold shift, it'll scale it proportionately for me. Or I can go to the corner and I can rotate it. If I do the other type, the container type, this is what people did on the assignment last week. This is where our issues start to form. If I click and pull, this is what people like to do, you end up creating something that looks like that. You can see the filler text has gone ahead and filled in the entire container. This works if you've got a large body of text or you're trying to create a little poster or something like that. This is good. But here's what happens. This is why we don't use it very often. If I go to the corner, click, hold, shift, will it react the same as point type? That is no. What it does is just creates the container bigger. It doesn't make the text bigger. And also, if I go to the corner and I want to rotate it, it keeps the text in a horizontal plane, but rotates the box. So there is times when you'd want to use that, but not today. We want to do point type. So again, you're going to click once on your screen. You are going to type your favorite word or your name, as long as it's school appropriate, and you're going to spend a few seconds trying to find the right font that represents you or the word. There's a character drop-down box up here on the control bar. You're going to find something that you think is really representative of that word or you. Good luck. Have fun. Let's go do it. Don't forget, once you get the typing, you're going to selection tool up. You can click and drag, hold shift, it'll make it bigger. Make sure you're holding shift, so otherwise it starts to become unproportional. Things will get weird. Got 40 seconds to get your text. All right, it's happening. So we've gotten our text up here. We can go ahead. We could take one of those custom swatches that we've got over here. We could apply it to our text. But you'll notice that a gradient doesn't happen. We'll learn how to do that tomorrow. For today, we're going to finish playing with the type stuff. So our next piece, before we get any farther, is going to be playing with what's called touch type. Touch type is going to allow us to do different things to the text. It's going to be spacing and sizing. So if we wanted to create a little bit more custom piece that isn't just straight text typed out, we could go ahead and pull on letters individually. We can even change the letter spacing or the kerning if we wanted to. We can get these closer, and then maybe we can even rotate it if we come into it. So now we've just created something a little bit more special than what was there originally. So to do that, again, just get your touch type tool up and start to play with it a little bit. I'll give your computer back to you. You get a few seconds to play with that tool, and then we move on. You're out? Cool. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for your help. If you have any questions, I'll give you a call. Okay. We're gonna do type on a path right now. We've got some time still. We still got ourselves 20 minutes. No, we got ourselves 15 minutes. So we got plenty of time to do this. There are two different ways we can do type on a path. So in order to get a path, it can either be a closed shape, which we just learned how to do last week, where we can use some of our pre-made shape tools, right? So if we come over here, we click on them, we can do any of these tools minus the flare tool to type on. Or we can get in here and use, say, the pen tool or the pencil tool. Anything that will create a path is something that is typable. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to take one of our shapes. I'm just going to take the circle so I can make a nice arc. And I'm going to come over to my type tool, and I'm going to get the type on a path tool. You'll notice right now that my shape currently has a fill, but as soon as I click on it, the fill and the stroke attributes will go away, and I am left with just a path in which the text is going to follow. There are some ways that you can go ahead and modify this. I'm going to delete this real quick. Just type a word. And you can see now I've got in here, I got these little handles that are at the start of the word wherever I clicked. These will allow me to reposition it on the curve if I would like. There's another handle somewhere. Oh, there it is. This one that kind of pops out like a T. If I take it, bring it to the, I missed it. If I pull it to the inside, you see how my text will change position. It's now kind of like floating on the inside of the line. But what if I want it on this orientation, but on the other side of the line? You will have to double click on the text tool over in the toolbox, and now you can align. If you turn preview on, you'll see all the different things that takes place, but I can put it to the ascenders, ascenders, descenders. All of those are the different pieces that make up text, and I can move that around the circle. So go ahead and try doing type on a path on a shape really quick, please. If you want right next to the text, get closer. You get a plus next to your shape. Not in the shape. That's one right on the edge. You gotta use that stroke when you want to type on the path. Below it. Otherwise, you'll think that you're trying to do series by itself, whatever that shape is. So you got the vertical maybe not shape. This time we grab the type of path. Right next to the edge there. Oh. Just another couple seconds. All right, one of the last pieces here before we get done with the hour is the type on a path of the, just do like a free-form path. Again, you can use any of these. You can use the pen tool, you can use the curvature tool, but for now we'll just get the pencil tool, draw yourself a path, get your type on a path, and get next to it, and it will follow that line. Give that a second. You got just a few minutes to do that, and then we'll talk about saving one more time, and that will be it for the day. Anybody need help? Okay, so take your computer over, show you one thing, and then we will be done, and you guys can kind of wrap stuff up for today. If I come in here really quick, we got to talk about saving real fast. A few of us are still struggling a little bit on saving our documents the correct way. Oops. Up top here, oh man, I'm going to give you guys a heart attack. Okay, you can see where it says first hour recovered.ai. There is a asterisk after the .ai. That asterisk means that there has been a change since the document was last saved. So if I come in here and I do Control S, it just saved, and you can see the asterisk is now gone. That is a really fast way to make sure that you are saving, because sometimes you don't know it. Even if you push Control S, you really don't see a change or anything take place. It's the only notable place where you'll see that happen. So I'm going to give your computer back to you. We want you to save that. Tomorrow we're going to come back in. We are going to try to finish this document tomorrow. I'd like to get us into the project on Wednesday. That'll take us through probably Friday. I'm not going to be here. Mrs. Chambers is going to be your sub on Friday, and we'll go from there. So good luck. Here's your computer back, and you guys can get everything wrapped up.